with his palm up, and I'm going to hold his hand, so my thumb is on his pinky side, and my fingers is kind of in this web space here. Like way, let's go this way. Way over at the edge. Okay. So I'm holding here, and the motion I want him to do is I want him to use his intrinsic muscles to get flexion. So that means I want his interphalangeal joints to be an extension, and I just want him to flex up this direction, just like that. Try that. Good. Palpation-wise, you may be able to palpate only one muscle here, right along, like a lumbrical muscle, right along the second metacarpal. That's it. So once he does that motion, go ahead and go up. Now I'm going to put my force at the proximal phalanx. That's important. So my force is at the proximal phalanx. Here, here. I'm going to do each one individually to make sure he can hold that. What am I looking for to make sure he's not substituting with? Phalanges, right? Or sorry, not phalanges. Yeah, phalange flexion. So profundus, superficialis. I want him to stay here, keep those fingers extended, and I'm just putting pressure right through here. There's no gravity eliminated for these. So the mistake will be, carefully don't hold with your thumb on their thumb, because then you're in their web space. So thumb on the outside, you're just kind of gripping gently the metacarpal so that he can move off of that stable base. And then palpation, you can only palpate one spot. Otherwise, have him go in that position and then put pressure on the proximal phalanx. Okay, all right, try that. So I'm gonna come from his pinky side and put my hand on top of his hand, and my second digit is stabilizing over the proximal phalanx. And then I want him to flex at the proximal interphalangeal joint. He's gonna try to flex all of his fingers if he can, and then he could relax. He could do one by one, so do that one, good, and this one. So you'll see that as you get to the little finger, I'm gonna have to move down a little bit so I'm not in the way. But for the most part, I'm palpating and stabilizing at the same time, so it's fairly straightforward. So notice my thumb here is facing me. So thumb is facing me, I'm holding his palm, I'm looking to see if he can flex at the proximal interphalangeal joint without flexing at the DIP, because that would be profundus. So now go ahead and do that, and I can put pressure on the middle phalanx. So hold, now this one, hold, come on little finger, good, this one, hold, and I'm gonna move down just a little bit so I can get out of the way and then hold that there. So that is for testing which muscle? And then what do you think it's gonna be for profundus? That's it, just move out one segment. So now I'm stabilizing the middle phalanx, and I'm having him move at just the distal, and I can test all those individually as well. I'm palpating underneath my finger is the tendon, so I'm palpating in the same spot. So right there, hold. This one, hold. Here, hold. And this one. And they are interconnected, right? So you're going to see some contraction of the other muscles. Only substitution you might see is when you're doing superficialis, that they flex at the profundus as well. You're going to try to eliminate that as much as you can. Okay, try it. No, this sounds a little weird. Okay, so I'm going to hold him now. I'm coming again from his pinky side. And my thumb is pointing out, so the same direction as his fingers. Really the hand holds, I think, are what get you confused here. So I'm holding his metacarpals, so that my other hand, the hand that's closest to him, is going to be able to palpate on top for those muscles. So I have him here, and what I want him to do is I want him to extend at the MCP joint while keeping his fingers can remain flexed, that's okay. So I'm holding here, and I'm going to palpate all the tendons on the back here, go into extension. Good. Now I'm going to palpate all the extensor digitorum together. The extensor indices is off of the second digit on the ulnar side. So I want you to feel, you should be able to feel the difference between the two. There's two tendons there. And then the minimi is over on the, again, ulnar side of the fifth extensor digitorum. And you should be able to feel the two of those together. So now that he's here, now I can put pressure right there. Hold, hold, hold. Proximal phalanx. Hold, hold, and hold. And he has excellent finger extension strength. Good job. No gravity eliminated. So just against gravity. All right, try it. Okay. Can you guys see that okay? Very So I want him off the table. It's really important that you stabilize at the hand and the fingers are off the table. Here's why. If I want him to go into, I'm going to try to push, he's going to try to stay in what position? What do they do again? Abduction. So we're going to try to stay in abduction. I'm going to try to push him into adduction. If I had him on the table, let's go back a little bit, and he spreads his fingers out, and he pushes his finger into the table, can you see how he can use the friction of the table to limit my ability to move him? So make sure for these tests, they're off the table. So I'm going to have his hand on the table, and I'm stabilizing over the top, but I'm going to have his fingers off the table, and I want his fingers all the way extended. You cannot palpate these muscles, so we don't need to worry about palpating, but he is in abduction, and I'm going to try to adduct. So I'm going to start on the second on the radial side. I'm going to go on the radial side of the middle finger, ulnar side of the middle finger. Now I'm going to come out here to the ulnar side of the fourth digit and ulnar side of the fifth digit. So I do them all individually, making sure that you put your pressure on the proximal phalanx so that you're not crossing two joints, so just one joint. So MCP, abduction, and I'm trying to adduct him. This is dorsal interosseous. Okay, go ahead and try that. And then we'll do palmar crossing off the table. Good. So, but now I want him to do adduction, so he's going to bring his fingers together. Again, there's no palpation on this one. I'm just going to try to get my finger between like his second and third on the ulnar side and try to pull him out there. Hold, hold, hold. Now I'm going to come on the radial side of the fourth digit. Hold there, hold, hold. And then the radial side of the fifth digit. Hold, hold, hold. That's it. So the position's the same. They were out and you were trying to push them in. Now they're all in. You just have to get your finger between their fingers because they're trying to squeeze them together as hard as they can. Okay, try that one. A little tricky. Just the hand placements are strange, and it's hard to kind of get a hold of them, so you just have to do your best here. So for the thumb, I'm going to stabilize on either side of the metacarpal. So I have it in between, like it's laying right in here. So I'm grabbing on either side and stabilizing the metacarpal. The motion I want him to do is to flex here at the MCP joint. Try that. You can zoom in just a little bit maybe. So I can see my... All right. And then I'm going to palpate over the thenar eminence, so I should feel the muscle contract right there. Then he goes up into flexion. He's going to hold that. I'm going to put force on the proximal phalanx and hold. Hold, hold, hold. So on the palmar side of the proximal phalanx, and he's trying to hold that there. You're going to notice as soon as you push, he wants to kind of pull out of my hand here, so relax. So I'm going to try to grab him as much as possible so he can't flex at the CMC joint, because I just want flexion here. Right? There's no gravity eliminated for this either. So we'll come around and help you, especially grabbing this segment can be a little hard. So that is one kind of main difference here in hand hold. And I'm going to come on this side and try to stabilize and hold down the first metacarpal. The middle phalanx, while he's going to try to flex at the distal. Oh, sorry, proximal phalanx. Proximal phalanx, he's going to flex at the distal. Good point. Okay. So I'm here, he's going to flex, and I'm going to palpate on the palmar surface of not the middle phalanx, but the proximal phalanx. Yeah? So you'll feel the contraction there, and then he's going to flex, and I'm going to try to pull him out of that. So you have to hold pretty hard on the proximal phalanx, because as soon as he flexes, that's going to try to flex at that joint as well. So I'm trying my best to hold him here so he just is flexing distally. So you have to grab on either side of it, and you're still going to feel like it's moving. It's not the end of the world, but try to hold it as best you can. All right, try it. So this is extensor pollicis brevis. So I'm going to grab the the metacarpal, and I'm going to hold him here. He's going to bend his thumb slightly, and then go into extension at the MCP joint here. So I'm making sure that he's not extending distally, right? He's just extending at the MCP joint. I have him stabilized. I'm going to palpate not up here on the metacarpal, but down here more at the wrist. So remember you had that ulnar snuff box, right? So we have two tendons down here. What's the very first one that's like more ulnarly?
Radial.
Longest, and then we have extensor pollicis brevis. So that's the one you want. So you're kind of like on the inside of the ulnar snuff box, so to speak. Radial snuff box. Okay, so when he goes there, hold that, and now I'm going to push on the hold proximal phalanx. Hold. So it's not easy because as soon as he goes, he's going to try to pull out of my grasp there. No, it's not. So one way to remember how to hold is the back of your hand should be in the palm of his hand. So like that. The back of my hand is in the palm of his hand. So just turn to your partner right now and try it. Just so you can make sure in the right spot. So the back of my hand, so like it's my right hand and I'm grabbing his left thumb. And I'm going to go, the back of my hand is touching the palm of his hand, and then I can grab the metacarpal. And then I want extension at the metacarpal phalangeal joint, palpating a little bit more proximally, and then putting my pressure on the proximal phalanx, making sure he doesn't substitute by extending at the interphalangeal joint. Okay, try that. Oh, no, it's not. It's a weird one.
Maybe I have to do this because I get in the way of your flexion.
Yeah, it was. All right, you ready? So this is extensor pollicis longus. For brevis, I had my palm in his hand. Sorry, the back of my hand in his palm, right? But for this one, I'm going to switch. So now I'm actually using my other hand, and I'm going to do slight flexion at the MCP, and then stabilize the proximal phalanx, and I just want him to go into extension at the distal. And I can palpate over the top here of the proximal phalanx. So we've switched hands. We were here, and as we come out in one section, now we're pinching on either side this way. And you want him to slightly flex here, and then flex at the interphalangeal, and then have him just extend, and then palpate there. Easy enough? So switch hands, still stabilize proximal phalanx, and then put them in slight flexion to MCP so they can actually move through the motion. On the table, palm facing up. The motion I want him to do is I just want him to come up this way into abduction. So I'm stabilizing the wrist and part of the hand here, and I want him to just go up this way. For palpation, for the abductor pollicis longus, I'm going to palpate down here at the base of the first metacarpal. And then for the brevis, I can actually palpate right here on the thenar eminence.
Where did you palpate for longus?
Palpate down here at the base. Yeah. So remember we have longus, brevis, and then longus, so it's part of that snuff box there. And then the brevis I can palpate up on top. And then when I push, so now he's here, I'm going to push on the metacarpal, pushing down into adduction. So that's for which muscle? Abductor pollicis longus. And then I'll push out here for the abductor pollicis brevis. Perfect. So this is more, I'm palpating muscle for the brevis. I'm palpating the tendon for the longus. Okay, so just talk through that with your partner, just so you're on the table with his wrist is on the table, but I want him far enough out. You guys can't see that. I'll have to hold up his hand. I want him far enough out that his thumb is like hanging down this way, because I'm going to have him come up into adduction. So, and then when he does that, I'm going to palpate in this, I can palpate in the web space here. Let's turn this in. So I'm palpating in here while he goes into adduction. And then after I palpate, I just turn my hand over, and then I'm going to try to push him out of adduction. But I'm in this position. So I'm here, my finger is inside there, he's going to come up, I can palpate there, and then I'll turn my finger and try to pull him down. So the whole hand has to be at the table. You can stabilize with the wrist, keep that there. So he is starting in abduction. I want him to adduct, I'm going to palpate, and then flip my finger over, and then try to push down towards the ground. He has to hold that there.